Hello, good evening. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. I hope you enjoyed your day. I should bring up the camera. There we go. How's it going? We're going to do our Luke reading and our Isaiah reading, our daily Luke and daily Isaiah reading. We're reading Luke chapter 22, and then after that we'll read Isaiah 61. I was we had company and I wasn't feeling well today, so I didn't do an afternoon show. So I decided I'd come on and do the video because I want to read each chapter of Luke, and we've only got a couple left. So, Luke chapter 22. Now the festival of the unleavened bread, called Passover, was approaching, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12, and Judas went to the chief priests and officers of the temple guard to discuss with them how he might betray Jesus. They were delighted and agreed to give him money. He consented and watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when no crowd was present. Then came the day of unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go make preparations for us to eat Passover." "Where do you want us to prepare for it?" they asked. "As you enter the city," he replied, "a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters, and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, all furnished. Make preparations there." They left and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. When the hour came, Jesus and his apostles reclined at the table, and he said to them, "I have eagerly desired to eat Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it again until it finds fulfillment in the kingdom of God." After taking the cup, he gave thanks and said, "Take this and divide it among you. For I tell you, I will not drink again from the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." And he took the bread, giving thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, "This is my body, given for you." Nope, I'm in the wrong one. In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man, woe who betrays him." They began to question among themselves which of them it might be who would do this. A dispute arose among them as to which of them was considered to be the greatest. Jesus said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater than the one that is who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? It is not the table or the one who serves, it is not the one who is at the table, but I am among you as one who serves. You are those who have stood by me in my trials, and I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table and in my kingdom, and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat, but I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers." But he replied, "Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death." And Jesus answered, "I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times. You will deny 3 times that you know me." Then Jesus asked them, "When I sent you without purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything?" "Nothing," they answered. He said to them, "But now, if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you do not have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, and he was numbered with their transgressions. And I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching fulfillment." The disciples said, "See, Lord, here are 2 swords." "That's enough," he replied. Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down, and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to the disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked. "Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation." While he was still speaking, a crowd came up. The man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus asked him, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" When Jesus' followers saw what was happening, they said, "Lord, should we strike out with our swords?" And one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. Jesus answered, "No more of this." And he touched the man's ear, healing him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, the officers of the temple guard, and the elders who had come for him, Am I leading a rebellion that you have come with swords and clubs? Every day I was with you in the temple courts, and you did not lay hand on me. But this is your hour when darkness reigns." Then seizing him, they led him away and took him into the house of the high priest. Peter followed at a distance. And when some there had kindled a fire in the middle of the night, in the middle of the courtyard, and had sat down together, Peter sat down with them. A servant girl saw him seated there in the firelight. She looked closely at him and said, "This man was with him." But he denied it. "Woman, I don't know him." A little later, someone else saw him and said, "You are one of them." "Man, I am not," Peter replied. About an hour later, another asserted, "Certainly this fellow was with him, for he is a Galilean." Peter replied, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word the Lord had spoken to him, "Before the rooster crows today, you will disown me 3 times." And he went outside and wept bitterly. The men who were guarding Jesus began to mocking and beating him. They blindfolded him and demanded prophecy. "Prophesy, who hit you?" And they said many other insulting things to him. At daybreak, the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and the teachers of the law, met together, and Jesus was led before them. "If you are the Messiah, tell us." Jesus answered, "If I tell you, you will not believe me, and if I asked you, you would not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God." They asked, "Are you then the Son of God?" He replied, "You say that I am." And they said, "We do not need any more testimony. We have heard it from his own lips." Just looking for that excuse to kill him. That was Luke 22. And now we'll read our Isaiah 61 reading. And this is going to be a fairly short video because I'm going to read Isaiah 61 as we've been doing every day. And then that'll be pretty much it. No commentary, no stuff. Just not a whole lot of talking. Just reading and getting on. Isaiah 61. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow upon them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord. For the display of his splendor, they will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. Strangers will shepherd your flocks. Foreigners will work your fields and vineyards, and you will be called priests of the Lord. You will be named ministers of our God, and you will feed on the wealth of nations, and in their riches you will boast. Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion. Instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance. And so you will inherit a double portion in your land, and everlasting joy will be yours. For I, the Lord, love justice. I hate robbery and wrongdoing. In my faithfulness I will reward my people, and make an everlasting covenant with them. Their descendants will be known among the nations, their offspring among the peoples. All who see them will acknowledge that they are a people the Lord has blessed. I delight greatly in the Lord. My soul rejoices in my God, for he has clothed me with garments of salvation, arrayed me in robes of righteousness, as a bridegroom adorns his head like a priest, as a bride adorns herself with her jewels. For as the soil makes the sprout come up, and the garden causes seeds to grow, so the sovereign Lord will make righteousness and praise spring up before all nations. That's your Isaiah 61 reading. And I will of course, be here tomorrow. We'll be doing our Luke, what's tomorrow, 23. And then, of course, on Christmas Eve, we'll be reading the final chapter of Luke together at some point on Sunday, on Christmas Eve. If you have been reading along, great. If you haven't, what we did was we read a chapter of Luke each day throughout December, to the point where Sunday night we'll finish it with Luke chapter 24, the final chapter, reading through the entirety of the story of the life of Christ as told by Luke. Now, you might ask, what comes of that? Well, one of the things that has come out of that for me is that I want to go back through all of the Gospels, all 4 of them, simultaneously. And I'm working on setting this all up and getting it ready so we can do this starting after the new year. Probably the 1st of January, since it's a Monday. We'll probably start on the 1st. Well, basically what I want to do is I want to compare the stories in Matthew's Gospel, Luke's Gospel, John's Gospel, Mark's Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I want to compare all of them and kind of go through each one piece by piece and see, okay, what stuff have I not... Because as I've been reading Luke again, and I think we did it when I was a teenager, but it's been a long time since I've done something like this. As I've been reading through the chapters of Luke, I realized there's a lot of things that I think I know what it says in the Bible, but then as I read it, I'm like, oh, I kind of had that a little, not terribly off, not misleading, not false prophet off, especially since it wasn't something where it was on purpose. It was just something that there's some things that I didn't quite have the story down in my head. Like, it helps to read again. And we read through these books, all the time. It's just that sometimes you kind of read the story you want to read. I noticed reading out loud a couple of the Psalms. There are places where a phrase, the way it's said in the Psalm actual writing, is a little bit different from like how I've heard it throughout my life. Sometimes I'll read, even though I'm looking right at it, I'll read what I see in my memory rather than what I'm looking, like the words I'm looking at in the Bible. It's weird. I'm sure it's some kind of psychological phenomenon. Listen, freedomhouse.com, christianservantacademy.org, sylvanhills.org. Any one of those 3 wonderful organizations could use a little help over the holidays. godslovelive.com. You can click on donate if you'd like to help us out. Anything donated to God's Love Live that is above and beyond the cost of running God's Love Live's radio channel and video channel will go into our Phillipsburg Recovers program, facebook.com/Phillipsburg Recovers. Go check it out, share it, like it, share it with all of your friends. And if you'd like to volunteer to help with reaching out to people and trying to get people to come to the event, finding some vendors that want to come and share information about what they do, and how they can help people who are suffering from some sort of addiction, please shoot me a note. 814-651-8865. I'd love to put you to work. Looking for any kind of volunteers, any kind of help with this that you'd like to help with. You can go to Cash App, God's Love Live, find us that way and donate, or give me a call, 814-651-8865. Thank you for joining me. And if you haven't seen them yet and you'd like, you can go back and watch all the videos. They're all on. All you have to do is go to our Raise Me Up Facebook, God's Love 2024, facebook.com/God's Love 2024, and you can click on the More button, Live, and go and bring up the live videos, and they'll all be there, all the way back to like August or whatever when I started doing the videos. I will also be building our archives section on the website soon, so hopefully soon. But if you'd like to help with some of that stuff, give me a call, 814-651-8865.